Hello and welcome to the garden. Have you ever had high hopes for a plant only for it to flop before the season is over? Well, I have. Today I'm sharing the story of my dumpling squash and why I say I have given up on this plant. For the whole season, it has given me only 3 viable fruits, and that is not acceptable. I have identified 3 potential issues with the plant, and the last one is the one that really sent me over the edge to give up. Stay tuned and let's talk. When I bought these seeds, this was supposed to be the year of dumpling squash in my garden. I was planning on tasting that sweet and creamy squash, but as you can see, things didn't go exactly as I planned. My first possible problem with my squash plant growing could have been the quality of my soil. It's important to note that winter or summer squash are heavy feeders. This means they need a lot of nutrients in their soil for them to grow and thrive. Now, I believe I'm a responsible gardener. I do add compost on all of my garden beds. I do this at the beginning of every gardening season. However, it is possible that by the time my squash plants produced flowers, they had already used up all of the nutrients that I had amended into the soil at the beginning of the season. What could also have happened is that as much as there were nutrients in the soil, but my plants were unable to access them. This could be perhaps because there's not enough microbiology which can turn organic matter into material that the plants can actually absorb. In an attempt to reintroduce nutrients onto my soil, I mixed in some general fertilizer with some compost and some bone meal. I sprinkled it around each plant. I scratched it in real good just to make sure that it gets just beneath the surface. Covered that with a little bit of mulch. And thereafter watered it in. Ideally, this should be done just when the plant begins to bloom. This will ensure continuous plant growth, utilizing these extra added nutrients, amending from the nutrients that were there at the beginning of the season. The second reason why my dumpling squash was drying up and falling off was a fungal infestation. I had 2 types of fungal infestation, which was the downy mildew on this fruit and of course the powdery mildew. Now, I have dealt with powdery mildew before, so that was not a surprise for me because it had been perpetually raining for I don't know how long, and the sun simply refused to come out. So powdery mildew was expected. What came as a surprise was this downy mildew. Downy mildew shows up as yellow spots on your leaves, which eventually grow and encompass the whole leaf, killing all of the plant cells and leaving a crunchy dead leaf like this one. The humidity in my environment, coupled up with the non-stop rain, a perfect environment for this fungal infestation. Some of the leaves even had both infestation at once. At this point, I just wanted to throw the whole plant away. But I had to make a plan. I made my trusted fungal infection solution of milk with some baking soda and a little bit of neem oil, and then I just diluted that in 2 liters of water. I sprayed this generously all over my plant, and I also pruned all of the leaves that were severely infested. After a couple of sprays and a couple of days, some of the leaves were recovering and there was also new leaves growing. Pruning the plant also helped me to improve the air circulation, which also helps in reducing the development of new fungus on other leaves. Days later, I figured no, by now I must be chilling. I have dealt with the first problem, which was the lack of nutrients. I've also dealt with the second problem of fungal infestation. By this time, I thought I had gone through it all. But my garden had to throw another curveball. Problem number 3. If you have encountered any of the 2 problems that I've discussed before, please leave a comment below and let me know how you dealt with it. Problem number 3. Lack of pollination. This was the one problem that really hit me on the knees because I felt entirely helpless to deal with it. I had successfully grown other plants that needed pollination in the past, and I've never had issues. I would just plant loads of flowers around my plants and let the bees and other insects do the work for me. And this had been working very well in the past. But this year, this dumpling squash decided nope. When the female flowers were growing, they were not growing in time with the male flowers. The female flowers are the ones with a bit of yellow at the bottom, and the male flowers are the ones that don't have that little ball at the bottom. They are just green everywhere. So on this branch, there's one male and one female. So the male flowers will grow like this one. This one is quite big enough. You see this little bug over here? He's out here to help me with the pollination. But then now if he takes the pollen from this flower and he has nowhere to put it, then that really doesn't help my squash. Eventually, this is what would happen to the female flowers. They would just dry up and die off. As they grow, you see this one, it's extra tiny, but it's already drying up. This mismatch in the growing times of the flowers was a real headache for me. I absolutely had high hopes for this plant, so I would check on it daily On this day, the female flowers had grown significantly big, but they had not opened up yet. They were not ready to receive the pollen. On the other hand, the male flower, one of them was fully grown and already producing pollen, and the other males were still not grown as yet. This is a male flower, full of pollen, but nowhere to deposit it. In different circumstances, what I would have done was to hand pollinate this dumpling squash. What I would have done was to simply get a paintbrush or some sort of brush, and then I would physically pick up the pollen from the male flower and deposit it in the female flower. But this plant didn't even give me a chance to do that. So all I could do was just sit back and watch as the male flowers grew, but the female flowers just died unpollinated. But I still had 2 of them that were pollinated, and the other ones just died, like this one dying right next to the male flower. By this time, I had to accept that for this season, this dumpling squash plant had only given me 3 viable fruit. So I am giving up on any recovering from this plant for this season, and I've told myself that I will try again next summer. All of the hard lessons that were learned from growing this dumpling squash will now be implemented next season. Hopefully by then the weather won't be so harsh and the rain won't be so much, or at least the flowers would grow at the same time and give me a chance to at least hand pollinate them. When it comes to nutrients, I believe I now have a solid plan on how to ensure that my plants have got enough nutrients to last them throughout the growing season. If you have found any use for this video, please share it with somebody who loves plants like we do over here. Leave a like and subscribe to the channel for more videos from the garden. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch. I hope you have a wonderful day further. Happy gardening to you.